top, and then the 80/20 is going to be towards the back, so that way it will hang completely straight. Now,
whenever I'm doing a filler or any type of an exercise, I always like to use my screws. I do have a tutorial on that.
the ruler itself, and I want to make sure to walk my hand with the ruler so that way I'm not holding my hand back here and the ruler is bobbing up and down and has the opportunity to go up and over. Okay, so now we're going to start here. We're going to work our way up and around and then up into the tiny area with our filler. And I'm going to repeat that same filler. I've locked my stitches. We now have our cream thread in. And it's up to you. You can be as committed to whatever size micro or small work that you want to put in there. Bring some feathers up from the tail. That way in low lighting, that wonderful texture is going to pop right out of there. For me, that's my favorite time to look at a quilt, is with the low light. Either when the sun's going down or the sun is just coming up. You get to see all that beautiful texture. Come back. Come around. Now, any quilts in my house are not on my bed. I have a few gift quilts actually that I use on my bed, but any quilts in the house are hanging for a short period of time. We have our Dane and our Shepherd Dane mix, and our Shepherd Dane mix, she sheds constantly, so to have a quilt on the bed, it just seems like such a waste. And then I have to constantly wash it. So, because of course, it's more her bed than my bed. So, anyways. But the texture, when I look at a quilt on the wall, or for those of you who are lucky enough to have non-dog houses or non-shed dog houses, work my way around, get those feathers in there, and obviously I'm putting more feathers in this block because of the bird, just for the symbolism. Give that a pause, shift. And you can kind of see right here, I still have a little bit of blue left from the blue marks be gone. So I'm going to go in there after I quilt. There's a few little areas after I've gone on with the marks be gone, and the blue line eraser, which is the product that I use now and love. I've had no trouble with it. And I've never had any trouble, and I've used a lot of metallic. I tend to be the metallic guy in a lot of my quilts, but I've never had any trouble taking out any of the blue lines or anything with the products that I've used over the years. I first for years used a product called um, Clean, which they took off the market, and then I used my other product that I trusted, which was the Blue Line Eraser, and I've never had any trouble on the metallic with any tarnish or disintegration. And I have quilts that have metallic on them from 19 years ago that I quilted in, and they still look like new. So now I can't say what's going to happen after that. I always tell people, that's why I always ask my clients and explain, that about the metallic, but also the reality that we don't know 20, 25, 50 years from now how that metallic is going to hold up, obviously, especially based on the care of the quilt itself. So that's always something to keep in mind when you use metallic. Now I know that this wonderful lady takes really good care of her quilts, and I pretty much am sure that whoever she chooses to pass this quilt on to, she's going to give instructions of how to care for this. She's a wonderful piecer. And I've done a few customs for her and a lot of edge to edge. She's definitely someone that knows where to put her money when it comes to custom. She likes to pick and choose what quilt really, really merits custom work and what quilt is really beautiful with an edge to edge, and anything more is just what's the point. She saves her bang for her buck and puts it where it counts. Now that was hard for me as a quilter when I first started years ago. I always felt that every quilt that I saw deserved custom. And it's not that they don't deserve it, but they certainly don't need it. There are some quilts that frankly, edge to edge is the way to go. Especially with a lot of the busy fabric quilts, a lot of the cave quilts, and some of the tulip quilts with a lot of the busy fabrics. Not all of them. And a lot of people now I'm going to go into that tight spot. So a lot of people now, even with those quilts, with all the busy prints and big prints, they're starting to combine them, of course, with fabric that's tone on tones, some nice hand dyed, some plains, just so you get some resting spots for the eyes. Okay, so now I'm coming in, I'm finishing, got that done, gonna lock my stitches. I like to do that twice and just move it a little bit so I get 5 stitches in a spot. I'm going to pull away and then we're going to take a look at that block. So I've turned off my direct above light so we would get the side light so you can see all this beautiful texture. So now around this bird we have our wonderful feathers, and it is almost a faux trapunto because of the double bat, and of course the metallic thread is showing up really beautiful. So there we go. There is that finished block along with our other square. And now I'm going to finish the border and we're going to remove the quilt and we're going to get a full shot. Okay, so now we have this beautiful piece hanging, and you can see with the double 80/20 how nice and straight it hangs, because it's obviously going to be a wall hanging. Um, and it will, with that double 80/20, it will hang nice and straight. Now usually I would have done like an 80/20 and a poly down or a wool instead of the poly down. Um, Always 80/20 towards the back and then poly down or wool towards the top, just to give that wonderful texture that you can see. But with this one, the 280/20 was wonderful. It was a great choice. Um, it added enough of the puff, as you can see here and here, Now, a few things that I did as we were quilting that I kind of changed up um, compared to our plan was I had originally left this half on all of these sections completely unquilted. So the only thing quilted was just this narrow band. And what I found after I rolled it forward and did all of it and then came back and looked at it is when I unrolled it, there was a little bit of distortion here because this was too big of an area. So I went in and I cut that in half again, and then I put filler here, which kind of gives it that wonderful tucked behind a square and a square and a square on point type of a feel to it. Um, Let me see. And of course, I do like the wings that kept it fairly block, gave it a very blocky look, and I kind of like that rather than a realistic look with regular feathers in here. I would have, and I think the choice to put the regular feathers in the outer area was the way to go. Um, I do like how doing the on point stuff gives this quilt a lot of dimension, and of course the border. It's a little hard to see some of the texture here, but the border with the chevrons going from the center out looks really good all the way around. That's a nice frame. So I'm not sure what shoe will bind it in. I think it'd be really nice with that red, um, or a, or even maybe the dark green would look nice. Um, Nonetheless, so here is our finished work. And of course, the thickened lines look really wonderful as ditch work. It turned out to be a really nice wall hanging with it. So there we go. There is our bluebird quilt finished. So I will see you on the next quilt.